I believe that a lot of questions, about this team that will be answered, it will be answered this season. And the irony is, it's not a matter of belief because it's a matter of fact. And that fact is the quarterback room will be what it currently is for 1 year. 1 year. That is, the Atlanta Falcons will move on from either Tua Tagovailoa and or Michael Penix Jr. But let's not get it twisted, folks. There's a reason why I said, quote unquote, and or. There is a reality where both Tua and Mike aren't a part of the team next year. This is a 1 year audition for Tua because he's on a 1 year deal. And we also have to understand that the one thing he's playing, right? The one thing he's playing for is market leverage. And with the Falcons, he has the chance to take over a high-powered, high-octane offense that features Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, who all signed extensions this year. I also think rather than try to build leverage against the Falcons, he wants to build leverage against the entire NFL free agent market for next year, right? But in order for him to do that, I believe he needs to prove he can excel without Mike McDaniel's system. And succeeding under Kevin Stefanski's system can give him immense leverage, right? As a scheme versatile starter. And what I think people need to understand that if Tua exceeds expectations, it not only positions him as a premier bridge to franchise quarterback available in 2027, but it can also allow him to leverage multiple quarterback needy teams, right, against one another for a multi-year deal. That's the fact. But then you have Mike and his injuries, and that alone speaks for itself. And because the Falcons underwent a total front office overhaul, when they hired Ian Cunningham and Kevin Stefanski, right? I think we have to remember that even though both of them respect Mike and Tua, there's no loyalty to either quarterback, which makes the possibility of both quarterbacks not being with the Falcons in 2027 a reality. And I think it's reasonable to truly feel like that. And whether Mike and or Tua are successful this season for the Falcons, the one thing Atlanta will inevitably achieve this year is clarity. As much as I believe that this team can be a powerhouse in the NFC South, in the NFC Conference, and in the NFL at large, I believe Atlanta can use the unrealistic expectations like winning the NFC and winning the Super Bowl to their advantage. This is a new team with a new coach and a new offensive coordinator and a new front office. So Atlanta can feed off of that external doubt. But one of the ways in which I admire Kevin Stefanski is via his patience, right? He recognizes the urgency of winning, but also recognizes the urgency of waiting. And Rick Ross said in an interview, I don't want to move too fast. I want to move correctly, as long as we don't waste no time. And it's going to take at least a year for Atlanta to achieve such clarity. But as long as they move correctly, they will be fine. When you look at Super Bowl contenders like Kansas City, like Seattle, like the Philadelphia Eagles, like the LA Rams, They each possess clarity. But how? Because they didn't waste any time in making sure they made the best and most logical decisions that's resulted in championships, league MVPs, and Super Bowl MVPs. It wasn't a matter of moving too slow or moving too fast. It's a matter of moving correctly. And when we talk about clarity with Atlanta, we're talking organizational and situational clarity. And from an organizational perspective, right? We look at how historically the Falcons suffered from a convoluted chain of command where the business and football ops, right, and those boundaries blurred until those two factions became clear with the hiring of Matt Ryan, Ian Cunningham, Kevin Stefanski, and even the promotion of Greg Beadles. And in my opinion, Greg Beadles' promotion is an underrated transition the Falcons oversaw because it completely detaches business ops from football ops. And that was the issue with Rich McKay. But on the opposite side of things, the Falcons cannot possess situational or schematic clarity until Kevin Stefanski names the definitive starting quarterback. And said starting quarterback effectively produces. So that begs the question, short term or long term, is a Super Bowl realistic for the Atlanta Falcons? And the only way to answer that question is that I believe only time will tell.